So on this week's episode of Be More Super, the podcast, I'm so excited. This show is one of the number one streaming shows in the US, straight from Paramount Plus. It's, of course, Halo. We've got Bentley Kalu. Bentley, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Brian. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
And I cannot believe I've actually managed to get one of the Spartans, Vannak, on the show, which is called... And before we delve into this awesome, epic show, what I normally ask my guests, because the last 2 years have been challenging, to say the least, in the way of the world and the pandemic, but how have you kept positive? How have you kept moving forwards during those times?
Yeah, that's I'm actually very glad you asked that question. When we started and the pandemic hit, and then we had, the initial 6 month, everything shut down for 6 months. And I was having a few conversations with close friends, and I told them, I said, this is the time where you have to really tap into your patience, your resolve, your empathy for others, because you see, we had just started doing Halo when the pandemic came. So we were actually on a contract, and the Showtime, they were kind enough to actually, give us some compensation for being out for that 6 months, So we were kind of okay, but you really had to test your patience, your resolve, and I did a lot of meditation. I must have read about I don't know how many books, and just training, working out, training, being in your own zone, and also being empathetic to other people, because there were so many people around that you had to take a step back and really think wow. These guys are really going through it, At least we had a contract, but a lot of people were, marriages falling apart, households breaking up. So that was a real test of, I think, the human spirit. You know what I mean? But for me, I've always kind of, it might be good or bad, but I've always loved challenges, Anything that challenges my resolve or, makes me, how human beings, we always want what we want now. But if something pops up that tests your patience, I actually invite that, because I'm like, okay, this is a chance for me to, test myself and know that I can get through it.
And I completely agree. I'm that type of person that when things hit the fan, it's a great opportunity to measure your ability and how you deal with it. And humanity definitely over the last 2 years, it's definitely divided the good and the bad. I think we've seen a lot of people be so kind, and then we've seen a lot of people not being that considerate. But thankfully, it's over in the UK where you are at the moment. It is getting better. It's literally, it's fantastic. So, I mean, I've had COVID twice, and I've been vaccinated 3 times. So literally, I should have the immune system of a Spartan. But fingers crossed, I will not get one again. So let's talk about this epic show, because we've seen quite a few different versions on our screens in the past years. But this one, I've got to say, the anticipation and the build up to it was enormous. It really, really is. Yeah. And we've just seen episode 6, and it's just an absolute awesome show. If you can let the viewers that are under the rocks know a bit about the show and who you play.
Okay, so Halo is a show about a place called Fleetcom, a planet called Reach. Now, Fleetcom it's sort of like a military operation, and there's a scientist called Dr. Halsey, and she is, in charge of scientific modifications of soldiers. She comes up with this brilliant, or not so brilliant idea to select a couple of children, run them through this program, genetically enhance them, and embed emotional suppressive pellets in their bodies, in their spines, so that they don't feel anything. They just follow orders, do the job. They're literally like, you know, they're like livestock, you know. Um, so that's one part of it. The big whole thing in Halo is there's things called the artifacts that, you know, there are two artifacts that exist in the world of this series. And when those two artifacts are found and joined together, there's what's called it's an elimination of what's called a flood. And the flood is like um, the lesser species. So the Covenant are the main species, the antagonists, the enemies of Reach, and by default, the enemies of the Spartans. And they're looking for these artifacts as the Spartans are as well. So we're both looking for the same things. In my opinion, the artifacts are the lead characters in the series.
Yeah.
And so through that, you have diametrically opposing ideas within Reach. And I don't want to give too much away, but I will say within the Spartan camp itself, because we have, you know, some Spartans that decide, okay, we don't need these pellets, and they get them removed. And so you have some that's taking the pellets out and some that have not taken the pellets out. So you have a team of 4 Spartans that were kidnapped since they were kids. They don't know that they were kidnapped because their memories were erased. They've been training since they were about 6. They've been fighting aliens for close to 30 years. And now you have 2 without emotionally suppressive pellets, and you have 2 with. So this is actually going to play out. Right now, we're at episode 6, and we have 3 more episodes. So I will say this about the show. Honestly, the second half of this show is phenomenal. You know, I know that, you know, the show kind of had, you know, a bit of a slow start. I get that because it was ground, you know, building, you know, storylines. And I also, you know, there was a lot of criticisms about, you know, the pacing. But that, I would say that was absolutely necessary because for the average guy who doesn't play Halo, who doesn't know anything about Halo, you know, he has to go through those episodes to understand, you know, what's at stake come episode 8 or 9. But in a nutshell, that's what Halo. I can go on a rant for the whole of this interview about it, but
and do you know what? You're talking about me there because literally, I'm not a gamer. I'm at that age now where I'm going to leave the games to the young kids because literally, I tried Halo, and I'm not very good. But you play the Spartan 134, which we can see there on the screen. How kick-ass is that character? This has got to be probably. Would you say one of the best parts you've had to date?
You know what? Yeah, I apologize because that was part of your last question. Yeah, I played Spartan Vannak 134, and I would say that this character is the most suitable character I've had to date. And I'll say that it's the most challenging character I've played as far as the physicality, you know, being in the suit, training in the suit. And I got to learn again, I had to test myself mentally because you get in that suit. And when I tell you that suit is like another human being. It's almost like if you show up and you think, yeah, I got it. The suit is like, oh, really? You know, and it's got a lot in store for you, you know. But the character has been pretty amazing. He is absolute stoicism, military soldier, kick-ass, get it done by any means necessary, no matter the cost, no matter the consequences. That's who he is, you know. And it's been the most fitting character that I've played to date.
And I've got to say, currently up to episode 6, I've got to say, Vannak, I definitely would have on speed dial if anything went wrong, because literally he scares me. 1 second, but I just think he's an awesome character. So how did this part come about for you? I mean, did you know about a lot about Halo before you went for the role? And did you know, what was the audition like? What did you have to do for the audition?
So initially, when I got a message, and I did not know what it was for, right? And I had played a little bit of Halo, but I wasn't like a diehard fan, like knowing the ins and outs like a nerd, and I wasn't that, but I had played a little bit. So I got this message, and they said, "Oh, we're producing something called Silver, right?" And that's what they named it. And they said, "Oh, so we want you to go, just go to the casting director's office and just run a scene, 1 or 2 scenes, and you're a soldier, and you're on patrol, and you really want to engage the target, but you have an earpiece, and they're letting you know not to engage, but it bothers you that they're telling you not to engage, and you have to follow the orders. So we want to really see that, internal conflict." So I said, "Okay, fine, no problem. I'll go do it." So I went to do it. Um, I did 2 scenes, and I didn't hear anything for I think must have been 4 months, you know?
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think it was 2018, November. And then I didn't hear anything till February, early March, 2019. And then they said, "Oh, Otto Bathurst wants to meet you in Spotlight." And so I went in there, and as I do with all auditions, I don't, how do I put this? I love to go in being myself,
Mm.
I don't like to go in with a facade, or put it on an act just to get a role. I really like to just be myself, So I went in the room, and when I showed up, they said, "Oh, do you need like 20 minutes or 10 minutes?" I said, "No, I'm ready to go. Let's go." So I went in the room. Um, Otto was amazing. Like, he has mastered the art of making an actor feel at ease. I have to say that, because he was amazing. It was like I was just talking to a buddy. So I go in there, and he says, he asked me about the character, and he said, "When you read this, what do you think about," he was not named Vannak at the time. You're right. I can't even remember what the name was. And he said, "What do you think about this guy?" And I said, "Well, I look at him as, he is a guy that from the outside looking in, you would think he has your back, but he's a weird kind of guy because he supports the idea, if you understand what I'm saying,
Mm.
not the individual, so to speak. So he's so stoic and focused that as soon as you step out of line with what the idea is supposed to be, he can turn on you. You know
Mm.
what I mean? But as
Mm.
long as you represent the idea, the team or whatever, in this case, it will be the idea of the Master Chief and the Spartan 2 program.
Mm.
And so he's always, let me put this, like, it's good to be on his good side. Let me just put it that way.
You know what? I would definitely be on his good side. I wouldn't want to be on his bad side. Literally, he's so straight down the line. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
you think? Do you think? Obviously, his character in these past episodes. Do you think we'll ever see him question some of the decision making that the other Spartans are doing? Because it's a wonderful thing to see. It really is. But do you
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that that's going to be addressed? Or do you think he's gonna, I don't know, approach them or?
I would say that, and again, I gotta, because I really want you guys to just watch, right?
Mm.
But I would say, based on everything that has happened so far, Vanek's subconscious, in his subconscious, he has started to question things. And it's only gonna take affirmation from someone in FleetCom that he respects so much, and
Mm.
for him to be set off. So, um, short answer to your question is it's looking it's looking more like there will be some kind of like deep divide. Now how long that lasts for, I can't really. I'm not
Mm.
at liberty to say, but
But you know what? I would just love to see Vannak in his quarters with some blues playing in the background, chilling out with a nice glass of bourbon, because he
absolutely,
seems so literally uptight and focused and
yeah,
you just want him just to relax and just put a bit of
relax,
Cool in the
yeah,
Gang on and just chill
yeah,
out. It would be great to see.
yeah,
So
yeah,
obviously, you're in great shape. If anyone's watched social media, literally, I'm confused on what those bumps are on your arm. Someone said they're muscles. And I model my body on Tyson Fury. So, I'm more the heavyweight boxer sort of style. Um, so.
yeah,
So, getting into shape for this role, I heard
yeah.
something that you went on a boot camp to get ready to be Spartan ready. I mean, what was that boot
Yes, we
camp
did.
like? Was it terrible?
You know what? So the whole, I would say the theme of the boot camp, and I've done quite a bit of training and I've done some rigorous training and I can show up somewhere and I can grasp what the theme of the training is. The theme of the boot camp was to make us as uncomfortable as possible, you know,
Mm,
and because, you know, everybody knew what was coming once you get in that suit. And it was brutal. It was vigorous. It was not pleasant at all. There was, I never really throw up, but I did feel close to it a couple times.
mm,
Um, the funny thing with the booth camp was, you know, you kind of had a love hate relationship with it because you showed up and within the first 10, 15 minutes, you were like, oh my God, I hate this. Right. And then you fell in love with it after that. And
mm.
when you understood the benefits of what we were doing, and I'm like a fitness fanatic. I'm like a nut. I appreciate the compliment, by the way. Thank you.
It's okay.
And also, I got to tell you that the heavyweight boxing shape is not all about aesthetics because Tyson
Mm,
Fury is incredible.
mm,
He's got skills. Yeah. So, but having said that, yeah. So I knew how to what to eat, and I had to eliminate a couple things like all the sugars, the carbs had to go if I was gonna be up there. But here's the thing though, no matter what you did in the booth camp, once you put the suit on, it was a totally different thing.
mm.
And there's no way. And I always used to say this to like the rest of the Spartans and the cast and the crew. I said, you can't get around the suit. You have to go through it.
Mm.
You just had to because there's a thing in fitness where you push the wall or your
Mm.
threshold, and you had to constantly push your threshold in that suit. So again, a lot of meditation because it was all mental. It was more than physical. Because no matter how fit you were, in shape you were, once you get in that suit, if you had a little bit of anxiety or anything, and we all had earpieces, so all the other Spartans could hear if you were panicking, you know.
Oh dear!
But
So
yeah,
no
it was
secret conversations then, because everyone
exactly.
could hear everything. But you know what?
Yeah.
Talking about the suits, on the screen they look so well made, and so
Yes.
just look stunning. I mean, what were they
Yeah.
like close up, and what was it like to put that helmet on?
I would say the first time I went for the fitting, so I go in and I got the Under Armour on, and the season one, the Under Armour was very restrictive. It was very restrictive. Like my hands, I don't know if you can see my hands, like they could only come up to about there.
Yeah.
I couldn't go all the way up to there. Um, so I got in it. So the armor it's pieces. So you got the piece on your thigh, you got the piece on your calf, you got the shoes, got a piece on your forearm, bicep, chest, back, and then I put the helmet on. And when I put the helmet on, there was a mirror right in front of me. And as soon as I put the helmet on and I looked in the mirror, I lost it. And I just let out a scream. They didn't understand what was happening. They were asking me if I'm okay. I said, this is incredible. Just looking at it, it's kind of like I got goosebumps because it was like an iconic feeling,
Mm.
You felt really invincible. But
Mm.
it was amazing. It was amazing.
And the show is epic in the way of the special effects and everything like that. But what was it like being on the set? Because they've obviously done so much work to make it look so incredible. I mean, what was it like
Yeah.
going on set for the first day?
Wow. So the first day, okay, yeah, I remember the first day very well. The first day we were patrolling through the woods. That was the first time we were all together as Spartans in the forest, and we were patrolling. And it was I just don't know how to put this, man. It was just epic.
Mm.
It was epic. We came in, there were about, I think there were like 2 units, shooting. So we came in, we shot the scene where we were going through, we were in Madrigal, and that was episode 1. And that was literally the scene after the battle when we went and Master Chief and Kai went into the cave.
Mm.
Yeah, and then when he first seen the artifact. Yeah, so we shot that before we actually shot the battle. That was the first thing we shot. So it was walking through the woods, and it was just a brand new appreciation for how much work they put in to make those costumes.
Mm.
And I just went for a costume fitting for season 2. So I've just gone, and I will tell you that excuse me, the costume has actually evolved. So
Oh, wow.
it's slicker. It looks so much better, and it's much more comfortable. And they've made adjustments to there was a guy that was on set, and he brought in a 35-page report on everything that they needed to adjust on the costume. And it was, yeah.
Wow.
So they used about 5 or 6 months to really make the adjustments. So it's even going to look better in season 2.
That is awesome. And do you know what? I've got to give a massive shout out to the stunt teams because they
Yes.
do
Oh
such a good
yeah.
job. And I had Justin Howe on the show a couple
Yep.
of weeks ago,
Yep.
who was
Yep.
Master Chief's stunt double. You
Yep.
being in such good shape, was there any
Yep.
points where you wanted to do as many stunts as you could yourself?
I would actually want to take a moment as well to give a huge shout out from the bottom of my soul to those stunt guys. I love you guys, man. I love those stunt guys. So the thing was, the stunt guys are from a different planet. You know?
It looks like it.
No matter how you show up, they're from a different planet. I wanted to do as much as I physically could. But here's the thing: is when scenes were being shot, this was what was happening. They would bring a stunt guy in because each Spartan had 2 stunt doubles. So
Okay.
the actor and 2 stunt doubles, so it looked like 3 Spartans on set. So as were 4, it looked like we had 12 Spartans on set.
Wow.
Yeah. So they would bring a stunt guy in to do, a couple of takes of a scene. Once they seen that the suit was getting the better of him, they had to sit him out and swap him for the next guy to come in. And then, so I was, if Vannak had, a close-ups or like, I really always wanted to start, and do as many takes as I could. I had to put a lot of emphasis into recovery. So I had like electrolytes and, everything you need to go in my body. So I would have that as I was sitting out. But I always showed up to be close by on set. So as soon as there was anything, it was literally like we were sharing the load.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah. But yeah, with the stunt guys, those stunt guys were absolutely incredible. And I personally don't think they get enough credit.
Mm. Mm. And Justin
Yeah.
was saying that he's just getting ready to go over to do season 2,
Oh, wow.
and then obviously the show's all been completed for season 1. What were your first impressions when watching the finished article? Because I can imagine with the special effects and everything, did it blow your socks off?
It did, absolutely. No, it totally did. Especially the first battle. Yeah, when I watched how everything came together, and also in episode 5, when they had that action scene, because that action scene was, it was so chaotic when we showed up to set, and it was like a briefing for about 40, 50 minutes. We had to listen to everything to get everything right, safety first, and with the Warthog and the drive-in, and it just came together so well. I have to just really quickly, I do apologize, I have to backtrack just a little bit. I want to give a shout out to my stunt double, eBay Ibrahim. And I want to say a huge thank you to him, because he really was the backbone, for even like moral support, when he would always be in my ear, and I got to thank that dude.
That's awesome. That is awesome. What's been your favorite scene to shoot so far? I mean, was it the opening scenes, or is it scenes yet to come?
You know what? My favorite scene actually is this. My favorite scene is when we went into the briefing with Miranda. When we went in and we were touching the artifact, that's actually one of my favorite scenes. And that's so weird, because you wouldn't think that it would be my favorite scene. You would think, it'd be, but when we were shooting that scene, we had so much fun shooting that scene, and we were playing around in between cuts, and it's because Miranda she's like very kind of small, right, compared to the Spartans.
Against you lot, yeah.
Yeah, so when we come in and she turns around, right, and she's like, "Oh, that really tripped me out."
And you're like, "Where's she gone? Where's she gone? I can't see her." Oh yeah, she's down there. Hello. That is so funny.
But then, right, the close second is the action scene in 5 and the magical battle at the start of 1.
Oh, do you know what? The episode 1 is probably the best opening of any show. Literally, talk about starting the show with a bang. And I know you mentioned earlier on that it was quite a slow burner to begin with, but I've got to say, it's fantastic. I mean, it sets up the characters in the correct way. And you're right. There are people out there that don't play the game. And it's great to see. I mean, I've got a friend, and I will call him out. His name's Rob. He said he's not going to watch it because Master Chief takes his helmet off. And do you know what? I've just turned around to him and said, you know what? You should be pleased that they're still flying the flag, and they're making a show out of Master Chief and Halo. I will persuade him. I really will. What was the premiere like to go to? Because I had Ryan McParland on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he's quite a small individual as well. And
he is.
I pointed out that there was a photo of you all together, and it reminded me of a school photo where the tallest people were at the back and the smallest people at the front, and he was at the front, which just made me chuckle. It really did. I mean, what was the premiere like? Because it looked awesome, and I must say, after the pandemic, it must be really nice to actually go out to an event with people around you.
Right. Well, first, I got to say, Ryan is a really close friend of mine. I love that guy. I love him to death. But the premiere, I didn't go. I couldn't go because I was in Morocco. I was shooting something in Morocco, and I had dates to film on the day of the premiere. So it was soul crushing, but I couldn't go to the premiere. Yeah.
And they didn't even take a cardboard cutout of you. You know what I mean? Hold you there. You're there in spirit. That's not fair, is it? Well, hopefully, fingers crossed, for season 2.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But my managers in LA, they went over there on my behalf. So,
of course they did.
They had fun.
They went over and had a good time. They had drinks while you was in Morocco, working your backside off, earning their money.
Yeah.
So the next question would be: did you liberate any costume pieces or things from set?
Short answer, no, you couldn't. And the reason is because, right, this was it was such a huge machine, right, and it was first time. This costume was the hardest costume that they've ever made.
Mm-hmm.
The company that made the costume, and they do a lot of costumes for a lot of films. And they told me personally this was the hardest costume they've ever made. So, with respect to them, I wanted them to have as much back as possible, so they would need references to make adjustments. What I would have really loved, I would have loved it if I could have taken a helmet, but I couldn't. Yeah.
Do you know what? If the costume department is listening, or anyone from the studio, it's only fitting, isn't it, that all the Spartans get given, I don't know, their helmet as a crew gift to take home and put on the mantelpiece. Because I've seen the show. There are plenty of helmets in the background on shelves.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They can miss one. It's fine.
We might get like some models made, to give us, but I wasn't complaining at all.
and one of the last questions I've got for you, Bentley, is that without I don't know, making the studio sweat and your NDA blowing up in your face, what do you think we've got in store for the next few episodes and the end of the season?
Okay. All right, cool. The next few episodes, how do I put this? Okay, the next few episodes are gonna blow your socks off. Episode 9, the way the show ends, the way the show ends, I think people who, like your friend Rob, that doesn't watch it, the way the episode ends, once you tell him how it ended, I predict that he will watch it just for the way it ended.
There you go,
and
Rob.
I also would say that it's so the last few episodes is a test of resolve, betrayal. How do you keep these group of soldiers focused on the mission with so much going on and things that are not said that are felt? You already know what at episode 6, so you know what Master Chief knows, and the conversations he's had with Kai, and basically Riz and Vannak, quote unquote in the dark when it comes to those conversations. But there's a storm brewing from the Covenant, and it's, what do? Do you sit and play dead, or do you rise up, in light despite everything, and do you prevail? So that's all I can say, unfortunately.
And you know what? Six episodes in, and the show is getting crazy. Literally, I know you said it started out slow, but this 6 episodes, it's literally everything is going on. Everything's happening.
Absolutely.
There's a number of storylines that they're all incredible. And the great thing I like about this show is that there's no small parts. All the characters, are so well written, which I like about shows. Like The Expanse was a show, for example, that was very, very good in that way. So I cannot wait for season 2. That's the other thing. I like the fact that if it's going to leave us on a cliffhanger, we need to have another season confirmed, which season 2 is, which we cannot wait. Do we have any idea of when that would be on our screens? Would it be next year or the year after?
Yeah, because I think the stunt guys, they're going in a few weeks, to start prepping and everything. I think the costume people are over there already. We start between the second week of July and the first week of August. So between that time, we would have gone over to, I think we start in Iceland now. So we're going to do about maybe 3 weeks, a month in Iceland, and then we move to Budapest. And we should, I think, because now there's no pandemic. you know.
Mm.
And now the show has got wheels. So it's like the showrunners already know, the direction, and they have a clear path. So I think we should be seeing this on our screens, touch wood, right after the first quarter of next year. If not at the right by March,
Mm.
between March and June, I predict we should be seeing it.
That is awesome. In Iceland, Bentley, you must be living the
Yeah.
dream right now. You must be having such a great time, and being part of the Halo, franchise. Literally, you couldn't pick another great franchise like it. But there is obviously no
Amazing.
ends to your talent. So the last question is,
Yeah.
is you played Genie in Aladdin? Apparently.
Oh, yes, I did. Yes, I
Which
did.
literally, not only are you an actor, a kick-ass,
Yeah,
action star, but you're also a genie. I mean, how cool
absolutely,
is that?
absolutely.
I mean, literally, did you bust out any songs while on set?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I burst out a song. I did some high kicks. I burst out a rap. I did a rap, and
I
and
presume the
yeah,
high
I sang.
kicks wasn't in costume.
Oh no, no, not in the Spartan costume. No,
Wow.
I had these. These wide GD pants. These really wide pants that they
Yeah.
grip the ankles and they're really baggy.
MC Hammer.
MC Hammer pants. That's it. I had on the MC Hammer pants. Yeah, and that was so fun. That was so much fun.
That is awesome. You know what? We need to see that on social media. So if anyone's got any footage, post it on social media. We all
Absolutely.
need to see and witness this. But Bentley, you've been a
Ha!
great guest, and it's been such a
Thank you.
pleasure having you on the show. And so far, you're doing amazing in the show. I mean, I'm gonna literally watch with anticipation to see how your character
Thank
develops,
you.
because
Thank you.
those glances to Kai, I've got to say, are just
Yeah.
fantastic. Literally, no words. Literally, the glance over, and it's great. But Bentley, you look after yourself.
Yeah.
Keep safe, and let's look
Thank you.
forward to the rest of the season and season 2.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Take care of yourself.